Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about automating your business with AI, a very, very interesting topic that I'm sure most of you would be interested in. Welcome to Invincible Innovation Live Show. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Mazor, Kario, product innovation and value creation expert, and I'll be your host. And today I have a very, very special friend and a guest called Barak. Hi, Barak.
Alan, hi.
So happy to see you. Barak Almog is a digital transformation specialist, automation expert, and data scientist, and a very interesting person to talk to. I read you a few sentences about Barak. Barak is the owner of sellerframe.com, an AI expert and full stack developer, digital transformation specialist, automates online businesses for a living. Blogger, speaker, and founder of several online communities dedicated to building a solid, sustainable, self running online business. Wow. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're so invited to join the discussion and ask questions. Okay, now we can start. So, what is the secret to a successful digital transformation and automation project?
Oh, wow, we're diving right in. So first,
Yeah.
this sounded very very complex, but so almost like sometimes I feel like they're talking on someone else, but yeah, I hope it gets the message. So maybe just in one sentence, I'm gonna give a little bit of context. So first of all, everything that Adi just said, and actually before that, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And this session we talked about it a month ago, and I
Yeah.
arrived like that.
With tons
and
of WhatsApp in the middle, with lots of the links that
yeah,
are sending from both sides.
yeah. So I'm actually I love going live in these sessions because like you mentioned, what I do mostly, and I mean when people don't know me, then I have to make it short. Then I say that I automate businesses for a living. I automate stuff, businesses. I automate stuff in my own personal life, and now with the AI revolution that just seems like it's exploded about I don't know 5 6 months ago, it kind of accelerated everything else. And I love these sessions personally because it's an opportunity for me to share what I'm doing and put a lot of that knowledge out there. And usually later on in retrospective, people come and talk to me and they tell me that some things that I said kind of change stuff in how they do things or how they think. So it's kind of I do a lot of stuff, automating stuff on my end that seems trivial to me, but it makes changes on other people's businesses, and I'm hoping I can um, share a lot of that here today and
Yeah.
give anyone that's listening a push in the right direction.
Sure.
Okay,
So let's
so
start
what
just
is
with describing what is digital transformation and automation, so we'll be aligned of like what people come with and how do you solve it for them.
yeah, I'm gonna try actually to scrap away the hype out of everything that we're talking about, because this is one of the things that I don't like. Hype kind of stands in the way. So digital transformation sounds quite sophisticated, but essentially it's the process of taking a business that is doing something, anything. I guess mostly online. I don't know. It's not relevant for me to talk about offline businesses. So I'm going to talk about online businesses doing something, anything, in a repetitive manner, and then automating that. So obviously, the first thing you're going to look is CRM. How you deal with the leads, with sales, and all the small menial tasks that you do on day to day, which maybe send invoices, follow up, and stuff like the setting up meetings, to even higher level stuff like executing projects that I do for a living. When I build a new system for a business, and that's a project, and a lot of that I automate. So digital transformation is taking your business and putting as much as possible, transferring as much as possible responsibility to a machine, to the computer.
Right.
And I actually got a lot. I got probably 3 years of experience as a service provider and agency owner, and more so as someone that automated stuff for myself. I'm gonna maybe try to touch a couple of points. For you, you
Yeah.
ask what is the secret to
Yeah.
successful.
But I
So
wanted to ask before that, if
yeah,
there are CRMs, like I have a CRM. So what in addition to that is needed? Because if I have a CRM, right? So I have my salespeople aligned, marketing
yeah, yeah,
sometimes, and phone calls and follow-ups, right? So what are
yeah,
we
yeah.
like? What's different?
That's actually a good question. It wasn't on. It wasn't on
No,
your.
I want to
No, but I
understand.
like it. I like it. And
Surprising.
so first of all, CRM is sometimes it's a rather broad term, or maybe vague. You if one person talks about CRM and another, it's not sure, where the boundaries that each one
Right,
sets for their CRM. So, someone for one person, it's just taking care of leads, but then another includes projects execution in it.
right.
So the question was, what other systems are there? So I'm going to give you an example with the first systems that I automated, and it actually started with my own business. I was for a while, I was in a outsourcing agency. I used to hire virtual assistants in the Philippines as a service for other businesses. And I had an assistant that did it for me. And probably 3 years ago, she quit. She burned out, and we had went through a patch in the business, and I found myself having to do this all by myself. And this is a lot of stuff that I didn't like sending emails and bringing in details, information of recruitees, and putting them in my my Excels, what I had back then. So I automated that, and I used a software that I'm going to talk about in a bit. It's called Airtable, and
Mhm.
it's kind of an online database that I use to automate everything literally. And I just kind of I projected the process on that software, and all that stuff that I didn't like to do. It was automated, getting the details, sending emails, booking appointment, getting interviews, and all that stuff. So this is just one thing that people don't necessarily think about when they think about automation.
Right.
But and I'm going to tell you that back then I was an agency, and I had to automate that for my own operation. But most of my clients that are buyers of this system, they're just businesses that hire regularly. So this is something that they automate, which is not a CRM. And
Yeah.
I can give more examples. I'm going to give
Yeah.
them later on.
I would say something
Uh,
that I'm aware of that these CRMs are very generic and it takes lots of time in order to customize
yeah,
them in many cases.
yeah,
And if I
yeah.
want something very specific or a very small portion of the total capabilities, it will take me a long time just to understand what I need to do in order to get exactly what I want.
I actually going to touch that. I got
That's
this is
good.
like I got so much to say, but let me start. Actually, Adi,
Sure.
I hope it's okay to tell you. Send me a bunch of questions, that were kind
Right,
of
right, of course.
and they were amazing because I had a lot of I had some time to think about them, and I got a lot to give in each one. So the first one was what is the secret for to a successful digital transformation
Right, right,
um, process in a business, and this is it might seem like kind of a no-brainer thinking, but I actually have some experience there, and I know a lot of business owners get this wrong. So the first one I must touch it is use AI. But I know
yeah,
this is kind of like I was actually thinking about leaving it to the last item, but since this is our session, it's becoming
right,
more prominent. So this is the first one, but we're gonna come back to that. Second
yeah,
one is really, really, really important. Is know your processes. And what I mean is that even if you approach a professional, an agency or someone, on my field that does this for you, the automation, you still need to know how your things are done. Okay, because if someone comes to me and they say, "Hey, build me a CRM," and they are not able to describe the process that they are currently doing for me, then for me, it's like a red alert that maybe I'm going to end up with a customer that's not unhappy. And for them, they might get a CRM, which is the vision of someone else. And it's not going to
Yeah.
solve the problem.
Right.
Second one, so you need to know your process, at least describe them like kind of in a list of what's happening after what. The second point is be realistic, okay? And, lots of the time, business owners or just people that want to automate stuff, they kind of want stuff happen that is, it's I don't know, it's like, it's more than is possible. And I'm gonna give like I don't know one example that someone that would want for a hiring process, for example, um, uh, system that would take the recording of a candidate and analyze their voice and then get what that person is. So okay, maybe part of that is kind of worth discussion, but we're venturing into the why do you need it realm. So be
Yeah.
realistic. And then be
Yeah.
minimalistic. It's like the other side of that coin. If you're building a CRM, this is so, so important. People come to me and they want to do, they hear about HubSpot and a bunch of stuff. And then they want to keep all the emails and all the messages and everything inside that system. And this not only is costing them a lot of resources like time and money, and there is a huge learning curve. Okay, and this actually hurts the business. But what's worse is that you might end up building something that you won't need. Because when I say be minimalistic, build what you need, is and that's actually my next point. Don't build system for the next decade, is because you don't know what you're gonna need. When you build a system, you develop, you understand your business better. So build sparsely. And I'm actually going to give some examples a bit later on. And then the last
Yeah.
point is use AI but smartly.
Yeah. So that's my next question. What has changed with automation, with ChatGPT and AI? What is the difference for you?
You had some great questions there. So I'm coming from the background, and for the past, I guess, 2.5 years, 2.5 years out of the last 3 years, I used mostly no code tools like Make and Zapier and stuff that probably most of our listeners have heard of. And on that realm, on that area, I guess not a lot has changed. Still a lot has to be done by hand. It's connecting pieces, and
Right.
much of the automation field is today governed by, I want to say, semi-technical individuals, which is okay, by the way. People that graduated from some online course and are able to connect pieces to each other together.
Right.
And when you already know what you want to build, then that part of the work is not really a problem. The issues, they lie in testing what you build, which is, it's a huge thing with no code tools. Very hard to test systematically. With validating and with reusing parts, and of course in the higher level abstractions, like designing your system properly, and this is very methodically. So this brings me to the other part of automation, which is automation using coding tools. So I build today, in the last probably 6 months, and especially since ChatGPT uh, broke into our life, I build Node.js servers. These are backends that support, all the automation on the server side. And there is a real earthquake is happening. The speed in which new tools and new methods develop is simply mind-boggling. And
Yeah.
I saw some stuff like people that set up websites using voice tools. They just say what they want, and a lot of stuff happens, and you got a website live. And I saw
Yeah.
it. There is a YouTube video about it. And
Yeah.
I personally use. I'm going to describe it in a bit. I use ChatGPT for higher level abstractions. So for the most part, and it's a complicated process, describe what I want and start to break it down. And I got ChatGPT throughout the way, kind of bringing me doing the low level stuff or bringing my ideas to life. I'm going to talk about
Yeah.
it
So
in a
so what
bit.
you're saying is in the level of the ideation or in the level of the code itself, building the components that are needed.
Both. I got two tools working in tandem. So ChatGPT is the ideation, and this is my mentor, and it teaches me stuff. And then I got both ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot that actually create the functions and the code for me. And
Yeah,
it's not a magic button, and I got stuff to say about that also. But this is the basic plot of it,
yeah,
and I it 10x my productivity, and I'm not even exaggerating.
yeah. Okay, so what is the potential of AI in automation? And could you give us some examples of what have you done before ChatGPT and now what is the change, the 10x that you're talking about?
Okay, yeah, this is something that I had kind of prepared for. We're going into the heavy stuff. I'll try to describe it. This is kind of new, before ChatGPT. So I'm gonna give you first of all an example. Okay, so I probably 6 months ago when the AI stuff started to come out, I think ChatGPT was not yet, in the front. This is maybe a thing of the last 4 months, I guess. So but AI tools were available, especially GitHub Copilot, and I started building the solution to clients, to automate their CRM, their hiring system, all that stuff. I brought it up from no code to code, and one of the things that happened, because while I have technical background, I was never officially a software developer. Um, I found out that my backend was becoming very complex, and it couldn't support any scaling up, like more systems for one person and do more stuff, because you have to keep a lot of stuff in your head. So one thing that I did, and it was probably, I guess, 2.5 months ago, I sat down with one Saturday, one weekend, and I asked ChatGPT to help me solve this problem. I told him I need an architecture for a complex backend of business using Node.js server, and it gave me the idea. And what I did was I asked the AI to describe me the steps that I need to build what he described with a simple example. It really plot out the folder structure and everything that I need on a high level, and then I asked it to walk with me step by step and build it together. And I did. And it took me 3 days. And what I built, I use till today. This is like kind of a template backend that I use to slice pieces from to clients that need solutions. And what I loved about it, it's the end of those 3 days where we're completely done with ChatGPT on the high level, the mentor, and GitHub Copilot. I did not only have a better solution, I was actually a better programmer, because I learned stuff that there was no way I would have learned, unless, I don't know, I would take probably like 5 or 6 full courses on Udemy. And I guess the 3 days were the equivalent of 30 days of work at the very least. So when I'm saying 10x, I mean 10x or even more.
Yeah.
Um,
I
Now
think
you're
it's
saying the
more than
potential.
it's not only that it's faster, it's the fact that you could not have done it before and now you could do it. And the implications are so big because, as you mentioned, instead of seeing a few courses on Udemy just to understand the concept, you could just go exactly to what you need and learn from example. And of course, we learn much better for something that we need and only the
Yeah.
topics that are interesting for us, right?
Oh, you hit a nerve, and I mean, I'm gonna talk a lot about coding because that's my world, but I'm very well aware of what most people need. And one thing that is like completely game changing for me is that I don't need to go through 5 or 8 hours or even 2 hours of course to get to what I need. I just, I get like the steps, I implement them. If I need further dive in, then I ask more about that point. And if I need a course, if I feel that I need to know that topic, in and out, I'm going to go and take a course. But I save probably 98% of what I would have go to, I don't know, Udemy before, or even YouTube. And by the way, I have, I actually was going to take it to another level. And I said I'm working on something fascinating. Is one of the things today um, that I'm doing is my vision is to get at requirements from a client in just like an everyday text, and um, click a button essentially, which is not really, but so to speak, and get on the other end the specification of the system, which I'm talking about all the entities, the workflows. So someone, like yourself can come and tell me, Barak, I'm doing the podcast on a weekly basis. These are my processes automated for me. So we're going to take your words, put it in the machine, and we're going to get a specification that essentially is matching the structure of my backend architecture. And this is not wishful thinking. This is actually happening. And I want to say, I know I can dive into this forever, but the approach that I took is probably reusable to every business owner. It's not just for coding. Most of the stuff is a high level approach. Ask ChatGPT to build a system for
Yeah.
me.
So,
Yeah.
so I want to understand the example that you gave. Okay. So I have a business and I have prospects. I do marketing, then I create prospects. Out of them, I want to call some of them or send them emails or send them information. Then I want to sell them, and some of them would start a project with me. And let's say the project is, I don't know, a service which is outside the online business. Okay. How do I describe it for you? I tell you, okay, I'm looking for people and I'm going for LinkedIn and doing this and that. And then I find the people who are, it sounds good for me. And how do you do the implementation out of what I just described, which I think most online businesses more or less would go to Facebook, LinkedIn, do the marketing, then find someone who's
Exactly.
a lead. Like, how do you do it? Like, give me an
Well, you
example.
you have a process, and your
Yeah,
process is essentially is essentially, let's say that we're talking about podcast session or a live session that you are setting up. But before you set up a live session, you need to have a person for that session. So I see here, and this kind of develops, but I see here essentially two main entities. The first one is sifting through like candidates. Okay, so you have some sort of search process, right? So
right.
you got one entity is candidates or people, just call it people, and you have a large list, and each one of those people is not the same. I'm talking on the information system level. When that person is like a line is a record in my information
Yeah,
system, and that record,
sure.
it it goes through stages. So if I want to automate what you do, and throughout those stages, you do stuff, right? If I'm talking about a person, and I'm going to divide it to person and in a session. So the person kind of for me is like starts when you reach out to someone that potentially looks good, and ends up when you say, okay, that this is a podcast in the making. That person is a suitable guest. So then starts the podcast record. For that person, you still need to do some things that, by the way, are very similar to just like a CRM process. You have to reach out to them, maybe send an email. That email can be automated. You need to send maybe a booking link. So you can do that like in a back and forth in WhatsApp, or you can just like click a button and that person gets an email with your Calendly link, and so on. And each one of those steps is a state. Okay, so you can think of like a block, like blocks in your flow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
when you describe something for me, which I mean I described it for you, which
yeah.
probably kind of follows maybe in a way what you do. So I take that and then we put it in one of those. I use Airtable for that, where you have to click buttons to get stuff happen, rolling that state. And what I described to you here, and I'm going to bring it up to the AI. This is actually a methodical way of thinking. And when I started kind of trying to automate it, you can't just tell the AI, create a system for me and it happens. You need to break it down for them to simpler, more bite-sized chunks. So I requested it to describe for me, and I hope this is kind of it's clear to most of my our listeners. I
Hmm.
said to build for me a pseudocode, which is kind of it looks like a code, but it's not really. That describes the process. So this is
Yeah,
kind of like scaffolding that helps me take us to the next step of building the actual
Yeah.
components.
Yeah.
This wasn't possible without the AI. So I don't know how I would ever do
And
that.
I think that you showed me that, for example, let's talk about the candidate emails. I'm telling you, I'm looking for people who are, I know, key speakers who are in this topic and they have this amount of experience, whatever. So you go and search, and more than that, you could take these components into the email and describe the email differently, comparing to the requirements to the specific person that you're talking to, right? It's not
Exactly. Yeah,
only, hey,
exactly.
and then they place right now you have that you have like place the name of the company in here, and it's much more complicated than that, right?
Yes, yes, 100%. Like when I, for example, yeah, when we send, I don't know, I'm gonna take it, to the lead management process. When I
Yeah,
get a new lead, then there is a process which is, in a way, it's kind of similar. You book a meeting and stuff like that, and then you might want to send a contract. So a lot of the people that talk to me, business owners, want to automate that stuff. Their contract is either a PDF that they just send, or maybe they have to go through altering it every time themselves. So we got Google Docs, and there are softwares for that, like DocuSign. But I use Google Docs. It just simply pulls the data from Airtable for that record, and then incorporate it into the document. And I can incorporate it in anywhere I want, in emails and anything else. So yeah, so the process kind of depends on what you got um, in your system. And again, one of the topics here is how can we use AI to leverage that. So did you see what we did? We kind of took our discussion on your process and we took it to the record, to the data level. And when I got the data, that's it. I mean, I can do whatever I want with it. I can send it to the
yeah,
AI, do whatever I want with it.
yeah.
Um, and I got some
And
examples to talk about later on.
okay, okay, we can have examples now. I just want to say that once you search someone and you see their details, you could create some kind of an intro line or a few sentences about their company, which is without reading all the data and going to countries, whatever, and finding the data. And you could do it all automatically, like a person that would try to find the best candidate or a lead, doesn't matter, right? So
Yeah.
that's the I
Uh-huh.
think one of the big things that most people say, okay, I currently have someone doing these for me, right? Going and searching on LinkedIn or in Facebook, whatever, or doing marketing. And you could customize something which is personalized for this specific person when you write something for him.
I actually have something to say about it. And one of the points that when we first just started talking, you asked, one of the questions was, what's the secret to a successful digital transformation project? And I want to add a point to that, which relevant to what I'm going to say, is that don't try to solve a bigger problem than you're able to. Don't try to chew, to bite more than you can chew. And I'm going to explain that. So let's say that we're talking about your podcast
Okay.
candidates system, which is very similar to outsourcing, where you talk with people and you evaluate them. And one of the things that you're doing probably is kind of you are involved in the web. You see stuff online and you say, oh, this is interesting, and maybe you sometimes you even actively searching. I'm not sure,
Right.
but I can guess. So then, if someone hears me speaking, then they say, wow, the AI can do that for me. So I'm gonna take the AI and let that thing go through the web and bring me stuff according to criteria. But this is actually a bigger problem than it seems. Just sending your machine to the web, and maybe some websites don't like bots, and some, it's too big of a problem to solve. So what I would do here, and I use that approach with everything, I would break that problem and try to not automate what I don't necessarily have to automate. So, for example, I can hire a VA for, I don't know, $3, $4, $5 an hour, depends on your budget, and that VA will scour the web for me. This is something that's very common, and he will bring those people into my system. He will be the entry point. He knows the criteria. I can talk with him, I can change it, and I don't need to have an automation for that. And once I got all the information in my system, which is, for me, again, it's Airtable, then AI can take over. So what I'm saying is that a process doesn't necessarily have to be an all or nothing. You can automate just the stuff that you need, or you can AI the
Yeah.
stuff that you need.
So tell
Uh,
us some of the tools that businesses need to know about automation. So you mentioned Airtable, but other
yeah, yeah.
than that, other tools.
Well, you are setting me up to the next question, which is great because that's the basis that I need. I'm actually gonna keep this kind of minimal. Whenever this topic is brought, what tools you use, and this kind of this tends to get out of hand. I feel like a lot of names are thrown in the air. People say, "Wow, ClickUp is the best. You just have to use it on Monday or Pipedrive." But and I'm not. These are flavors, but I'm gonna keep it in Airtable and make um, Airtable is like I mentioned this, and it's something. I guess this is a system that every business owners needs to know because
Yeah.
Airtable is a visual online database, which means that other databases like if you have I don't know like every website that you use, they got a database which is kind of inaccessible. Airtable is like the database exposed. You actually put the records there, and you see them, and you can slice them, and you can do whatever you want with them. The big um, I don't know. The big message that they brought was, first of all, it was very easy to learn. It's integratable to everything with API, with tools. It's very easy to integrate it to whatever you want. So this is like kind of the hub for me for automation. It synchronizes tables and bases. So it's very easy not only to automate stuff, but to keep like a business database in the right way. You have a lead, a person. You don't have to update them in 100 places, just one. Um, and so all this brings me to what I like to think of Airtable like water. Like Bruce Lee said, it takes the form of your business as it grows. Okay, so I can take whatever you bring me and throw it on Airtable, and then mold the Airtables to the system according to what you need. And this is actually, I said don't build beyond what you need. This is one of the things that I like about it. You implement your minimal solution, and let's say that you got other stuff going on like Notion or ClickUp or Pipedrive. They can live peacefully by each other, and you don't have to choose. The second tool is Make, which is they were called Integromat. They kind of came after Zapier. It's an automation platform that I personally still use them, but I do a lot in code. I think that for business owner, it's a really valuable tool because you can automate a lot of stuff for yourself. You don't even need to be extreme. You don't need to be a programmer. Just have some logical thinking. Very easy to learn it. And I'm going to give an honorary mention to Notion that I used as a note taking software, but now they got databases also. I do a lot of stuff with it, but
Yeah.
let's keep it in Airtable and Make. So
And
these are
make.
my top three.
Okay.
Um,
Do you think that what is the like in most cases, most people will say, okay, technical people are the ones who are dealing with the data, with the database, with the it's not for me, right? Do you
yeah,
think
yeah.
that more and more people, maybe like a bit connected to technology or understands online businesses, could do that, or they need someone who is really, an expert like you to do so?
I can do really a lot of complicated stuff, and I love it. I can't stop talking about it. It's for me, it's like magic. It's the closest thing to be. But what I'm getting at is that it's easy to get overwhelmed, and sometimes a lot of business owners tend to leave the technical stuff to other, and I think it's a mistake. If you think about, when I say, I mean, we're probably the same generation. My parents were not the best with the programming the VCR, and I just did it,
Yeah.
so right, we are all technical, and if you have an online business, and you learn to work with ClickUp or Notion, you should be able to know how to automate simple stuff on yourself. And I got clients that, like, for example, wedding photographers, which are great people, and they got complicated processes, and most of the stuff is online, and I build system for them, and yeah, and I found out that they learn how to do that themselves, and they can make small changes and this is a huge advantage over other people that don't. So
Right.
it's not just for technical people. I think it's a toolbox so that for the most part everyone at least have to know, what you got, so you
Yeah.
can navigate it. I
Yeah.
got, by the way, a few examples of processes
Mhm.
that each business owner can probably automate today and use AI as well.
Sure, I'd
Uh,
love to hear.
I'm kind of barging ahead, don't I?
Sure. No, I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, I'm well aware that, and this is, by the way, sometimes it's a problem that when I talk about these things, I might get too technical, and I try to kind of bring it down to a level that's more accessible to other people, because otherwise, no one will ever do anything. So if we're talking about workflows that could be optimized with AI, and I'm glad we talked about Airtable, because I'm gonna use simple stuff with all of them. The main business domains that every business has is sales and marketing, and projects, which or services or product deliveries, how you execute your promise, finances, and maybe administration or operation. So if we're talking about finances, for example, okay, I got a table in Airtable, which, by the way, I think I have. I'm not sure if it's in Hebrew or English. I probably have a YouTube video that describes how to automate your invoices and filing process. You get an invoice in email, and it kind of jumps into your Airtable account and kind of becomes a record. I use that all the time, and my accountant I just have a permanent link. I don't need to tell him anything. He knows how to get the invoices. It's automatic. But one thing that I wasn't able to do is, if I got a new invoice, I couldn't. I had to like manually type in the details, how much and the currency. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I did with AI, and this is not with ChatGPT, I connected directly to the OpenAI interface, is have the AI read the PDF of the invoice and pull out all the data and just put it in in the data structure. And what amazed me is that the AI knows how to do it not only with just English invoices, which are fairly obvious. It was able to actually decipher a Hebrew invoice and pull out, and it was even able to identify the supplier name and translate it to English, which was not
Wow.
written in. Yeah, and this is I mean, this is just the way that I described it. It's absolutely amazing. And if you are a
Wow.
business that gets a lot of invoices, this is a huge hassle. And what I
Right.
described can be done, by the way, with Make. You don't need to be a coder for that. And by the way, if
Yeah.
someone wants to learn how to, I have a product in Gumroad that is a customer service automated process, where essentially the AI reads reviews in Airtable and summarizes the issues, provides you with a sentiment, positive, negative, or neutral, and offers a few responses. And this thing is completely, I created like a product. It's priced, but I'm not really selling it. I'd be happy to give everyone that's listening a coupon, and it shows how to take it to your own Airtable account to set up the make processes. And even if you're good with coding, I got some snippets of JavaScript. You got it all there. So
Wow. I
yeah,
feel
it's
I
very.
I feel that we need a separate episode only on these like tips and tricks. What could be done, and maybe we could add links to that. But we're
I'd be
almost
honored.
done with time. Although we've done I think like 50% of what we wanted, but that's fine as long as we're like happy that we've done it. So, what is your number one tip for leaders and business owners today?
Yeah, well, actually, we kind of touched it already, but I'm gonna repeat it because it's really important. Um, yeah, again, it's easy to to be overwhelmed with what's happening now, and I'm also kind of getting overwhelmed with the AI fatigue. I heard it probably 2 or 3 days ago, and leave it to other people. But I'm saying don't, because this thing is a bigger revolution than anything that we've probably seen in the last 5 years. And I want to say more, but I don't know. And just your competitors whoever you are already there, and they're automating stuff, and they're going to be delivering in speeds that you weren't you couldn't believe that's possible. So what I'm trying to say is don't leave it to your competitor. Invest some time in bringing AI to your own processes. The customer service stuff that I just mentioned, like I said, it's free. I'm going to be happy to give just 100% coupon to everyone that listens to this. Go there, watch it, see how you can bring Airtable to your own processes, and feel free to also reach out to me. Um,
Sure. So that's the last question. How could people do that? So we mentioned
okay, yeah.
sellerbrain.com and you're Barak Almog. So tell us.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, a small apology, I guess. The website stuff is happening really fast lately. The website maybe still reflects the hiring time of my period. So maybe sellerfriend.com is not the best right time to reach out to me. So you can get me on, first of all, on LinkedIn. My username is Barak Almog, just like my
Oh,
name with no spaces. My username in Facebook also, if you prefer, that is also Barak.almog, facebook.com Barak.almog. You can get me there. And there's actually a group that I created probably around 3 or 4 months ago. It's called Made by AI. Facebook.com groups made by AI, and a lot of the stuff that I do, I share there. Um, I guess these are
wow.
probably the best places to get to me right
Yeah.
now.
Wow. Thanks, Barak. It's been so interesting. And I'm sure we could have like at least another full episode only on that. So thank you for joining me.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I mean, I'm happy always when someone invites me. So thanks for giving me the opportunity, and I'm glad it
Yeah.
was valuable.
Sure. And to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining us. And if you want to learn more about what I do, go to invincibleinnovation.com and I'll see you next week with another innovative, insightful talk. See ya.